I was going to actually bring a whole packet to say that I had lots of notes. I get nervous in these things. I'll just share one story because this is actually a large crowd for me outside of a classroom. I had a presentation once in Portland State, and I had a microphone and a clicker like this, and the whole presentation I talked into the clicker and dragged the microphone, and no one corrected me until the last slide. So I hope that doesn't happen. So I'm not going to pick up the microphone. But I would like to thank Dr. Pam Bowers for nominating me in the selection committee and sponsored program foundation for recognizing my scholarship. And as Dr. Capps had mentioned, I'd also like to thank my family, my husband Jeff, and my children. Felicia and August can't be here because he's playing soccer. But as we know, in academics, often requires weekend events, long nights grading, long hours writing, and occasionally traveling out of town. So I appreciate my family's support because I couldn't do it without you. My research agenda is focused on innovative pedagogical design, reflective teaching practices, and development of rigorous learning environments. My research centers around student-centered classrooms. This passion in creating creative learning environments is both personal and professional for me. Throughout most of my educational journey, I struggled academically because I had a learning disability, and I was often underestimated, silenced, and ridiculed. My achievements changed when I went to higher education and got services for my learning disability, but also met professors who inspired me to challenge myself and also helped me find my confidence in my intellectual ability. So this personal experience does drive my dedication to create a classroom where students' excitement goes beyond their grades and that they are invested in the passion of thinking and learning. So in this lightning fast presentation, which I have to say is a very big challenge for me because I do like to talk, I want to acknowledge some of my projects. I'm going to present 3 of them, but I definitely also want to say that these are not and would not exist without my professional collaborations. Each of these projects and the implementation of each of these projects are because of my partnerships. So my first project was with faculty from across the country. Dr. Langlois from Grand Valley State University in Michigan, Dr. Baca from New Mexico Highlands University in New Mexico, and Dr. Kurt from Monona State in Minnesota. We developed this framework, Trauma-Informed Community of Inquiry, a Stewart's framework for teaching during the pandemic. We call it TI-COI. Was born out of a COVID pandemic in months of talking and reflecting and naming our struggles about teaching during a crisis. We were searching for answers and trying to create an engaging and robust classroom during that crisis. And in our research, we found combining the frameworks of trauma-informed pedagogy, community of inquiry, and trauma stewardship could create meaningful learning environments. So trauma-informed pedagogy builds learning environments in higher education to support successful completion of a course by acknowledging students' personal experience in trauma. Community of inquiry comes from the discipline of online teaching with 3 explicit presence, like teaching presence, cognitive presence, and social presence. But this theoretical or this pedagogical design can also work in the in-person classroom. And trauma stewardship comes from my professional discipline in social work around when social workers are working with crisis. This idea that we have to take care of ourselves in the work. So we're relating this as the importance of taking care of the educator in the classroom. So to create healthy environments and promote engaging teaching and learning, we contend, my other co-authors, that educators need regular practices inside and outside of the classroom that promote well-being. And as educators, we found retaining meaningful relationships with one another to support our scholarship, share teaching strategies, and also foster our own well-being contributed to our motivation to be present in our classroom and support our students through their learning. So that's project 1. Here's project 2. This one is an exciting project in partnership with our own librarian, Amanda Discourse. Amanda, oh, I have to switch a slide. See, it gets complicated. This curriculum aims to inspire students to continue to engage in research and help them inform their practice ideas once they graduate. So we all know that students have access to libraries and librarians when they're students, but this access often goes away and will go away when they're no longer students. And that's a super important time when they're coming into the field to be able to connect with research. So together, we created a curriculum to help students understand the role of open access and challenge the traditional scholarly publishing models. This curriculum that Amanda and I created helps students to locate both scholarly and non-scholarly open access research and inform sources related to their practice experience, what they're doing in the field. And hopefully connecting that this is an important practice to bring in as your social workers to continue to do research. We used an open pedagogy format, and we created this online repository where students, it's called the Humboldt Social Work Knowledge Commons, and you can see like there's our categories of where the students were placed. So students placed with working with aging or behavioral health, child welfare would upload not only the articles that were found in open access, but also write an annotated citation and relate why it was important to their practice. Our hope is that this online repository will continue to be used, it will grow, and that not only our students but our alum will have access to articles that are meaningful. So my next presentation, if I ever run for politics, I'm going to just tell you that, so understanding open access, Elsevier is not usually open access. And I presented, unbeknownst to me, at an Elsevier conference shortly after I published this article about open access. And I didn't mean to, but this one was presented at an Elsevier, like, you know, if you're into open access, you could say, hiss, boo, Elsevier, because they're like the Walmart of publishing. So this is the gamification simulation in Indian Child Welfare Act. Gamification. So in January 2023, Dr. Bowers, a fellow social work faculty right here, Deborah Kettleson right in media, and Mike Sargent, and you can see they're all in our photo, from Media Productions, and Terry Jojopoulos, an instructor designer, and myself worked together to develop a virtual simulation that guides students through difficult conversations. Which way am I? Turn that one over here. Yeah. Using H5P software. So this virtual simulation uses case presentation models that was developed with input from our local tribal communities and then also a statewide California Tribal Family Coalitions, social work supervisors in the field, and graduate social work students. Dr. Bowers and I co-authored and co-produced a screenplay and worked with Deborah and Mike with the filming of our case scenario. So here you see we use campus as well. We're on campus making our film in January with some of our graduate students and actual actors and actresses. Let's see, so this simulation is innovative, it's interactive, and it directs students through conversations regarding the complex conversations needed to be compliant with Indian Child Welfare Act. Using H5P simulations, students have the opportunity to engage in real-life scenarios, which impact rural and indigenous communities, as well engage in the use of technology. This virtual simulation helps students guide the realities of fieldwork while decreasing potential harm to actual clients. So this gives you an example of like, this is the door knock, where students are guided through how to introduce themselves as a social worker to a client in child welfare. This slide shows you a little bit about the branching scenario and the use of technology. Integrating technology with case scenario into social work education has the potential to create safe, insightful, and engaging opportunities for our students to explore possible mistakes. So this is one of the things that we asked our tribal partners, like, what are the mistakes our students are making? And we based our simulation on guiding students to understand where they can improve on those mistakes. So there's a feedback loop as well. And the gamification, because they're rewarded as they go through getting the right answers. The Indian child welfare scenario offers that safe place to practice, but also gain proficiency in how we lead conversations in the field in a local context. So the students go through this assignment, then they also turn in a reflection. They do a role play that they record, and then they also write a paper on that experience. So we found that students, this problem solving around misunderstandings around ICWA, and also reinforcing the learning around the importance of leaning into conversation and explaining the legal requirements of Indian child welfare has been important. The project has been well received, not only with students who have participated in this research and this assignment, but also with our tribal partners who have helped guide the creation. We're currently in the process of studying the outcomes of the student learning, and Dr. Bowers and I hope to expand on the virtual simulation project by including and exploring additional projects, one from our tribal partners to help guide students through improving engagement with Native fathers, and especially in the child welfare services. So thank you once again. I kept it short. I appreciate your attention, and thank you so much for the recognition in this award.